What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Jaripeo, the best pregame show in the NFPL. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about today. It is the last game of the regular season for the women of OLE. They are traveling away to Columbus with the men for the first match of a double header this weekend. And then the men come back home to face Ginga FC. Not only will it be a race from Ohio to see who can get to Grand Rapids first from Saturday to Sunday, but then we're going to have to see who's the best on the court. You guys already know the drill on the order of operations here. We're going to kick it off with going around the league. We're going to talk about the games this weekend that are scheduled, what the fans are predicting will be the results today. And then most importantly, we're going to take a look at some goals from the Joy game last week. We made a statement. We won our game against Joy, beating last year's runners-up, sending them home with a reminder that OLE is serious about becoming the back-to-back champions. And then finally, we're going to look at some more messages from the players to you, the fans. We got a lot of positive feedback from that from last week. So with the quick turnaround, we're going to take advantage of the boys doing the work for us here on the show again. And they got some messages for you guys to send us into the weekend and hopefully to see you guys on Sunday. Finally, we'll go over a couple players to watch for both the men and the women. First, El Jaripeo pregame show to cover an away match, but we will be doing it to make sure we cover the men and the women one final time this season. And then, of course, we'll kick it to the expert. Let's see what we've got around the league. Let's take a look at the women's division and how it's squaring up. There's only one game left, and that's our beloved Grand Rapids OLE tonight. But first things first, the standings. Futsal Factory Academy in first place. They've all but sealed it in with that 39 goal differential. They have recovered from the loss to our very own Grand Rapids and held off Columbus last week in a 4-3 victory away from home. We see our beloved Grand Rapids women in second place at 4-1. Unless they come out scoring over 20 goals on Columbus in their favor in the differential, there really isn't a change in the standings here. And then Columbus Futsal women playing for pride tonight as they are 2-3. They have a chance to get 500 for this season. They have really started to gel here to close out the end of the season, but unfortunately wasn't enough to get them into the playoff picture this year. And then finally, Futsal Indy, who had a very disappointing start to life in the women's division. They did not see a single win through their entire campaign. And now for the men's standings, let's start in the Southwest. It seems to work well for us every week. And we're going to see Brusa FC. They did not have any action over the last week, but they are still in first at 2-0-1, the last remaining undefeated side in the Southwest Division. We see New Mexico Flagship, who came away with a victory over San Diego last week, and they have moved up to second place at 2-1. San Diego Voyagers have played 4 matches so far. They are at 1-3, struggling with 3 losses straight here since their opening win against Colorado Futsal Academy. And then finally, the aforementioned Colorado Futsal Academy, with only 2 games to their name at this point, is 0-1-1. They are still looking for that first victory of the season. They'll be looking to improve and give the rest of the Southwest Division a run for their money. Moving on to the Midwest, they're right where we left them. It's FC Trezub. They are 7-0. They have all the points. They are currently the entire league leaders in points. They've also played 7 matches compared to the other divisions who have only done 5 or 6. Only one other team with more games than them so far this season, and that's Futsal Indy at the bottom of the table. They only have 2 matches left in their schedule. They are eliminated from playoff contention. Unfortunately, a very disappointing season the whole way round for Futsal Indy. Last year's dark horse that surprised everyone in the playoffs, ultimately falling to runners-up Joy Athletic, were not able to recapture the magic this year. Speaking of Joy Athletic, coming off of their Michigan away trips, they are now at 2-3-1, but don't be surprised by that losing record, because Joy is showing that they are, in fact, a team to be reckoned with, even though they have not shown well in the last couple of matches. Do not be surprised to see them make a large stride forward here for the end of the season to solidify a playoff position and get back to what they do best, and that's winning games in the Midwest. Cadence in third place. We did not see them in action over the last weekend. They are at 2-3 as they were before, and they will see action this week, and we'll see how they fare after a fair amount of time off. Finally, the Great Lakes Division. Grand Rapids OLE in first place. They are 5-0. They are undefeated. They are now ahead of Columbus Futsal with the win from last week over Joy by 2 points. And now, as you know, the two first and second place teams in the Great Lakes will mimic what the Midwest schedule looks like this weekend and face off. Tons of action this week in the NFPL. And look at Columbus, 4-1-1. They have been an absolute fortress to play in at Westwood Fieldhouse. This will not be an easy task for our Ole men as they look ahead to Columbus Futsal. Looking at third place, it's Futsal Factory Academy, who came away with a monumental win against Joy last weekend to bump back up to third place. They jumped ahead of Ginga, who did not see action last week and are at 2-4. They're without Robert Dameron this week as their starting goalkeeper, so I'm curious to see how they fare on the road to Cadence, who has proven to be quite feisty this year when they are at games. And finally, Ginga Futsal, the second match in Ole's doubleheader this weekend when Grand Rapids Ole travels back home to play hosts on Sunday. Ginga coming off of the back of a 12-12 tie away to Joy Athletic Club. So do not count this team out. Even though they're in fourth, they are getting results away from home with a tie at Columbus and most recently a tie at Joy, both difficult places to play at, especially considering the travel to Minneapolis from Southern Ohio. So with those standings, what kind of contest do we have to look forward to going into this weekend? It starts with the last match of the inaugural regular season for the women, and it starts with Columbus Futsal at Westwood Fieldhouse hosting our Grand Rapids Ole. The women kick off at 4 p.m. Then the men come in for Act 2 of the night, and they will be facing off at 7 p.m. So make sure to keep an eye on the NFPL YouTube channel for that live stream so you can catch both the men and the women competing in Columbus. And then we go to the Midwest. Not only do we have first versus second in the Great Lakes division here with Columbus and Grand Rapids facing each other, but in the Midwest, we see Joy play host to FC Trizub, who is first traveling to second. It's going to be another really big match. That one takes place at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. Then at the exact same time, Cadence in Chicago should be hosting Michigan Futsal Factory. That's going to be an interesting one as Cadence has a lot of games still to go. When they do show up for games, they are fairly competitive as it seems. And Futsal Factory, although they're coming off of a very big win over Joy last week, will be playing this match away without their top goalkeeper, Robert Dameron. He is the glue that keeps this team together from what I can see from streams. So it'll be interesting to see what the dynamic is and who travels in his place to cover between the sticks in this away match. Then from there, we've got to head west. It's Brusa FC playing against Colorado Futsal Academy. It's the top of the division versus the bottom of the division. But remember, that Southwest division started later than the rest of the league, so there's a lot of matches to go. It's still too early to tell who the runaway favorites are in the Southwest division. Keep an eye on that match. That'll take place at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. And then finally, we have the lone Sunday match. And guess what? It's ROLA hosting against Ginga Futsal. So that game will be at 5 p.m. on Sunday the 12th. Make sure that if you guys are in Grand Rapids or in the area that you are getting over to the homeschool building. Ginga is coming off of a very big tie. They played to a 12-12 draw at Joy in Minneapolis without one of their top players, Eric Hagerty. They're starting to pick up some steam as the season goes on. So keep an eye out for this match. It's one that maybe flew under the radar when we first looked at the season, but as it has progressed, it's certainly one that you don't want to miss. Now, looking at what the fans think is going to happen this weekend at the Predictions League, we are still waiting on 2 votes, but as things stand at the time of recording, Ole is completely favored in both of their matches, despite traveling to a very difficult Columbus for game one, despite having to face a Ginga side coming off of a massive away result and their longest away match fixture of the season. In both of the games this weekend, the fans say Ole, Ole, Ole. As far as other matches around the league, we look at the Cadence match against Futsal Factory. Cadence is favored 100% by the fans so far. The fans don't seem to have much confidence in Futsal Factory without Robert Danron between the pipes. And looking at the game with Joy hosting Trizub, we have our first discrepancy in a while. We finally have a fan that is not willing to go with the rest of the crowd and make a bold prediction. We finally have someone that is brave enough to make a guess away from the rest of the herd. He doesn't want to be mentioned because he's a fairly humble guy, and we're going to respect his privacy. But the Joy game does see one person voting in favor of Joy as the home team. The rest of the fans so far say, hey, Trizub is the 3-1 favorites in this one so far from the voting, and we can't see the division leaders going on without a win, even away to Joy. Only time will tell this weekend. It is a jam-packed weekend of games. The fans are obviously very excited about it. I'm sure you guys are excited too, particularly for our beloved Ole, and I cannot wait to see how this shakes out for the fans. But in the meantime, let's take a look at some of the goals that we saw against Joy as a highlight to get ourselves excited for this match this weekend. Unfortunately, one of the goals was not captured on video because of a technical difficulty experienced with the stream, but we do have 3 of the 4 goals for you guys. It won't be a traditional top 5 like we have every week. But hey, don't worry, fellas. I'm sure the girls are willing to pick up the slack for you this week and put together a full top 5 for 2 weeks from now for our last Jaripeo. So we look at 3 goals from last week. The first one coming from Sammy. It wouldn't be a highlight reel without him, and he drew first blood in this match. Take a look at the rotation from Ole. You know how we like to do it. We poke, we prod, we find that opportunity. Boom! Sammy finds open space. Ole able to find a way to stretch that defensive diamond of Joy enough to create a running lane down the middle for Sammy. He feeds the corner, puts himself in position to score, and takes full advantage. Well done, Sammy, on this play to find this. It was a grind up to this point, trying to find that break in Joy. Sammy, of course, is the one to do it. But Sammy's not the only ESQUIVEL on the court. Let's take a look at this from LITO. LITO actually disrupts this play early on. This kick-in is not going to happen for you, I'm sorry. And then LITO sees brother Sammy push this player to the middle, and like the apex predator that he is, stalks the prey, takes the shot. Yeah, you like that? We like that. That's how we do things in Grand Rapids right there. Beautiful. Look at this again. Sees the direction the player is running out of options because there's 2 ESQUIVELs. If you're an opposing player, you don't want to be between 2 ESQUIVELs. That's all there is to it. Ole's going to take advantage. Look at this goal from Daniel to close out the night. Daniel De Leon makes it 4-0 on this play. High press from Ole. Daniel immediately disrupting the play. Sees that there's nowhere for these players to go. Is there to snipe it off the back foot. And finds a tiny little hole in the back of the net and puts this thing through. But look at it in slow-mo again. You'll notice that Daniel does not miss. Beautiful goal and way to seal the deal for Ole with only 3.5 minutes left to go. This would be the nail in the coffin, and Joy was not able to find a way to capitalize with their 5th attacker for the rest of the night. We received a lot of positive feedback from getting some messages from the players to you, the fans, last week. So we went back to the well again and made the boys do the work for the pregame show this week and asked them a couple quick questions. First off, we asked some of our Ole staff and players what they thought was the key to Ole's success this year. And then secondly, what is the benefit of coming to see a futsal match, especially one with a winning team like Ole? Let's take a look at what some of our players and Coach Fabian had to say about how the season's going so far and why you're missing out if you haven't caught an Ole game yet. First and foremost, we start with Miguel in the goal. We asked him what he can give credit for Ole's success, and he said, of course, the brotherhood that they have. They have known each other for years, which makes it easier to play together and have the success we have been having. I believe we can sweep the league again. We train hard, We're dedicated to this team and only want to grow and succeed as a group at the highest level possible. We also caught up with one of the newer players on the squad, Jaripeo. He has been integral to our success so far this season and injecting some fresh energy to this squad and keeping opposing teams on their toes. When asked about the reason for success so far this season, he simply put, I believe one of the reasons for this is the fact that we adjust very well to our opponents. We followed up with him and asked him if he thought we'd be able to repeat this year, and he was very confident in his response. Most definitely. We have so much that we haven't shown yet. It all comes down to what team can bring that out of us. Nobody has brought the dog out of us yet this season. We will win. Winning is always fun and beneficial, even though sometimes there's more to learn in the losses. We do pretty well learning from the wins as well. We were also very fortunate to catch up with Coach Fabian this week as things wrapped up from practices, and he had a very similar story and sharing in the success with the men on this team. Fabian had this to say about their success so far this season. If I can only give one reason on the season's success thus far, I would give all the credit to the homegrown players. Our guys trust and love the process. They play for each other, and win or lose, we're a family. And then when it comes down to what to expect for the rest of the season and whether we can go all the way and why you shouldn't miss any of the matches remaining this season, he credited the fans. Youth club families and supporters are an extension of our team. Everyone plays a key role in the culture of our club. Fans give the team a bigger purpose. Now let's get into the players to watch as we head into this weekend. We start with the women of OLE. And number one for me has got to be Shelly Vargas. Shelly had a few absolutely stunning goals over the course of the month of February, one of which made it into the running for goal of the month. It was an absolute rifled shot from the sideline. Very tight angle, found its way through against, I believe it was Columbus in that match. And she has been an absolute menace to goalkeepers all month long, and hard worker on the court, providing for other players on the court as well for their opportunities. Definitely someone to keep an eye out for going into this match away to Columbus. Number two has got to be Citlali Luna. She has also had an extraordinary month of February, including the home leg against Columbus, where she had 2 goals. She had an absolutely beautiful toe poke, as well as that famous scoop that was in the top 5 last week that just made it over the fingertips of the goalkeeper. She's had some very memorable moments going through February into March, and I think she's definitely going to be someone to keep an eye out for in this final match of the regular season and beyond as we follow her in the closeout of the season. Moving on to the men, my first pick for the players to watch, you've got to be keeping an eye out for Chris Mendez. Chris is one of those players that's work extends beyond the stat sheet. Chris is provider constantly for big plays that lead up to big goals. He's also provided several goals across the season himself. He has been a mainstay over the last 2 seasons and an integral part of OLE's success. Someone that maybe isn't being shouted over the intercom at all times, but certainly always with an impact whenever he's on the court. My second player to watch, SAMMY ESQUIVEL. SAMMY is a constant in our top 5s here on the pregame show. He has the most goals on the team so far, according to the statistics on the NFPL webpage, and he is constantly providing entertainment to the fans with his passion and his energy and his hard work rate. Definitely someone to keep an eye out for that's going to thrive in the kind of energy that you see in Columbus, someone that does not bend under pressure. Not that any of our OLE men or women do, but especially with SAMMY, you could tell by the look in his eyes in arenas like this that he feeds off of that energy and looks forward to sticking it to the other team and silencing their fans. So definitely keep an eye out for SAMMY as we look ahead to the games in Columbus, and then for him to turn it around and show the same passion he had away in Cincinnati when we host Ginga on Sunday. So there you have it, guys. All you need to know around the league and in OLE going into a busy, busy weekend. Hey, look, OLE has a lot of games to make up to close out the season, to make up for the games in hand that we had entering March. So not only do we have 2 games this weekend, but when I see you guys next time in 2 weeks, we'll have another doubleheader. This time playing some out-of-conference games, and then looking to close out the season on April 1st. But until then, I hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend, and I'm going to put you in the very capable hands of Rudy, who's going to guide us through our journey against Ginga FC.